Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, December 13th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by the people's champ, Matt Baxendell. Bax, it looks like Urban Meyer and his staff have not forgotten how to recruit. What a night for the Buckeyes last night. They land four-star defensive tackle Tommy Togiai and four-star wide receiver Kamryn Babb. I mean, the number one class just continues to increase its lead. Your thoughts on the Buckeyes landing Togiai and Babb?
My favorite part about this is that Togiai is the 14th highest-rated player in OSU's class. He's a top 130 or 40 kid, and the Michigan class has one kid rated better than him. So, yeah, they're doing well. We can complain about how they use the quarterback. You can never complain about talent when it comes to Urban Meyer. One other thing I want to add. We've talked about the defensive ends a lot, about how we need some, but the DTs in this class are great. This is one of the best defensive tackle classes OSU's had in a while.
And I feel like, I know anything can happen in recruiting, especially with the early signing period and all these kids signing early. I feel like Ohio State, they might not have the number one class locked up at this point, but it's going to be extremely shocking if they don't finish with the number one class. And some people might say it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't, but they finished second so many times. It's going to be nice if they finally get the mythical recruiting national championship.
I just don't want Bama to win it. Because it feels like every year you look at it and you go, OSU has the best class. They have the best average stars. They have this and that, and they find some way to, bend themselves backwards into picking Bama to win it for, the 18th straight year. I'm sick of that. All right? OSU had the best class a year or two ago. You want to tell me the Bosa class wasn't the best class in the country? Yeah, right. So if OSU finishes the way they can this year with actual numbers in this class, it'd be really nice to actually see them as the number one class for once. I have to say, if Cox hadn't left the class and potentially headed over to Bama, you could have already pretty much written it with a freaking hammer and a chisel and a file into a piece of granite, because OSU would have had the number one class. But I just don't want Bama to have it. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Emory Jones does not sound good. I do not think he's going to be a Buckeye. Maybe I'm wrong. I do not think he's going to be a Buckeye. Just your take on the Emory Jones situation.
Watch what they say, not what they do. Emory Jones he may say he's committed, but he's been acting like an uncommitted recruit in the South. And whenever you're involved with a Southern kid against the Alabama schools, it's really hard to win. We saw that with Cox. Anytime Auburn gets involved, I automatically cringe, no matter how good the kid's character may be. And end of the day, he's been to Alabama more than he's been to OSU recently. It's right down the road for him. OSU has everything going for it, but guess what? So does Bama. And I said this a week ago when we were asking would they stay or would they go. Jones was one of the four you asked me about that I thought would go, and I still feel that way. I don't think they would have taken Baldwin if they weren't very, very concerned that Jones was going to be gone. I don't really think OSU wants two quarterbacks in this class. And to me, I think if Emory Jones ends up in Columbus, it'll be a shocker at this point.
Exactly. I'm not buying all of a sudden that they want quarterbacks in this class. They've, for months only wanted one quarterback, and all of a sudden they want two. No. I think they got Matthew Baldwin because, as you mentioned, they know Emory Jones is going to look elsewhere. I like Baldwin, though. I like him. I don't feel like he's Stephen Collier 2.0 at all. I feel like he is a diamond in the rough. Just, give me you never mince your words. Give me your thoughts on Matthew Baldwin.
Baldwin. And you know what I like even more? He fits the style of offense I want OSU to run. Truth be told, trading the running quarterback in Emory Jones for the pocket guy with the big arm in Baldwin is a good thing for me, because you've heard how much I've complained about the quarterback run. I'm done with it. I want more Haskins. I want more Baldwins. I don't want the Martell types anymore running this offense. That's not a knock on Tate, but I don't want the quarterback run to be Urban's crutch. And bringing in guys like Baldwin and starting guys like Haskins takes away that crutch. So I'm fine with it. And by the way, he's a kid who was being recruited by a lot of schools. It wasn't just, oh, look at him, he was committed to a lower-level school, quote-unquote. This is a good player. Like you said, he's not Stephen Collier. The Stephen Collier recruitment was like the 17th quarterback that OSU chased that year. Do you remember all the quarterbacks OSU wanted? They wanted Deshaun Watson, then they wanted, what was the kid who ended up at Kentucky, and then they wanted that Brandon Harris who ended up at LSU. They wanted two or three others, and then they said, screw it, we just need a quarterback. So they took Collier. This is very different. They said, we're gonna probably lose Emory Jones. Who's our best option? And Baldwin was the best option available. This wasn't a long courtship. with anyone else. They just said, he's the best available one right now. Let's go get him.
Wide receiver recruiting, Kamryn Babb is the number 12 wide receiver in the country, number 65 overall player in the country, high four-star. The other wide receiver in the class, another high four-star kid, LaChristian Smith, Blues, number 5, athlete in the country, even though he's a wide receiver, number 120 overall player. We've seen this trend the last couple of years. It feels like they have finally learned you don't want to take running backs and move them to wide receivers if you're Ohio State. Just recruit wide receivers. They're doing that now. They've done it the last couple of years. We saw it last year. We saw it a couple of years ago with Austin Mack and Ben Victor, LaChristian Smith, and now Cam Babb. I think the days of them trying to take running backs and moving them to wide receivers, those days are over, Bax.
Thank God. Have you ever seen Paris Campbell try to catch the ball 15 yards downfield? There's a reason why they changed their strategy. I agree with you. I haven't been as high on Babb as others because I'm always concerned when a player comes off of a major knee injury in his senior year. And there are plenty of examples where I've been proven on kids who've been hurt. But then there are plenty of examples of kids who have that knee injury and then never really get themselves back to where they thought they could be in college. So, I'm glad they got him. They need more receivers, plain and simple, especially if Trevon Grimes doesn't come back from Florida. So I'm glad they got Babb. I'm really glad they're recruiting actual wide receivers. Makes a big difference when you have guys who can actually catch the ball in your offense, and it's going to make an even bigger difference when you have a guy like Dwayne Haskins who can get it downfield in the tight windows as your quarterback. So, yeah, I'm glad they're picking receivers for once instead of trying to find the next Percy Harvin in every class.
I interviewed Paris Campbell recently. I posted a story to the site last night about this. It sure sounds to me like Paris Campbell is leaning towards turning pro. Leaning might not be a strong enough word. Sure sounds to me like he will be turning pro. I asked him about it flat out. I said, Paris, are you definitely coming back, or do you have a decision to make? And he talked around it. He even admitted it's a cliche, but he says, I'm just getting ready for Notre Dame, USC. We wish it was Notre Dame. It'd be an even easier win. But getting ready for USC, and he didn't even say he has a decision to make after that. He said that's all he's focused on. I don't know, man. I've covered these things for so many years. I feel like Paris Campbell, what he said to me, I feel like he's going to turn pro. Just your thoughts on that.
My thoughts on that are he's had 2 concussions this year. I think he figures if he's going to get hit anymore, he might as well get paid for it. That's the simple thought. How many concussions has Campbell had in his career, too? So I think it's a classic example of a kid who's much like Jalen Marshall was just done with it and was ready to move on. Now, Campbell's going to test really well in everything that doesn't involve catching, so I'm assuming someone's going to draft him if he goes pro, but I don't know if he has much more than a 5th or a 6th or a 7th round future in him. But, it is what it is. Somebody can justify him on special teams. He's certainly a great kick returner, which boggles the mind that it's not Mike Weber returning kicks, right? Like, why is he not back there versus Mike Weber, who's your pounding tailback in kick return game, other than the fact that, again, he's had 2 concussions this year, and that's the highest concussion portion of football. So, to me, Paris Campbell's future in the NFL is hoping that somebody picks him up and doesn't concern about his concussion history to have him return kicks. That's what Paris Campbell's niche in the NFL is going to be. I'd be stunned if he had a long career as a number 3 wide receiver in the NFL or anything like that. But this is what happens when you have kids that are these elite kind of talented kids who are great athletes. You have a lot of kids go pro after 3 years. And look, it's what happens. And that's kind of what you want to say. Look at all these kids we sent to the NFL early. In recruiting, it certainly helps. Whether it's the best choice for Paris Campbell long term, I don't know. I would hazard a no. But, the truth of the matter is, you can only take so many hits, and he's taken more than his share already. What is it? It's 2 concussions this year and 3 in his career at OSU, right, Dave, that we're aware of?
And they wouldn't even let him return kicks after the 2nd concussion this year, and that was his best role. I was thinking back, if you're going to take something away, as good as he is offensively, his best role was as a kick returner. It was curious to me that they decided, we need to limit his reps. We're going to take away the kick returning duties, but we're going to keep him as the H-back. I would have kept him as the kick returner and limited his options as the H-back.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because, look, he's not getting lit up any less on that little screen bubble out where nobody blocks for him and he gets killed the second he touches the ball. So might as well let him have the ball at the head of steam and try to break through a line. I understand concussions happen more frequently on kicks, but you don't need him on the offensive sets, and he's just as vulnerable to getting hurt. And if you're really worried about him getting concussed again, then why the hell is he playing football? That's simple. So
right. Exactly. Hey, Yeah, before I let you go, real quick, I know Paris is playing in the game and all that. Billy Price told me he's playing in the game. In fact, Billy Price told me he can speak for the entire team that no one's going to skip the bowl game. Are you buying that? Or, I mean, as much as I want Denzel Ward to play in this game, if I'm Denzel Ward's advisor, I might be telling him, maybe just get ready for the draft. I hate even admitting that, but despite what Billy Price said, Bax, do you think any Ohio State players might skip this game?
You mean they're going to get a case of Bradley Roby-itis? No way. Absolutely not. That couldn't possibly happen. They're not going to come down with a bad case of Jabril Peppers. No way. Certainly not. I mean, I like OSU's kids, and I feel like they have a lot of character to them. And with Bradley Roby sitting at the Orange Bowl, we all kind of saw it coming because the week before he quote-unquote having a hamstring injury, but he kept rubbing his groin. So you knew he really wasn't hurt. But to me, I look at it like this. I don't blame Denzel Ward one bit if he doesn't play in this game because there's no freaking point. I will tell you this. If it wasn't a big New Year's Six game against a team like USC, I would be expecting 3 or 4 or 5 kids to sit out. If they're playing in the Weed Whacker Bowl against Louisiana Monroe, none of the seniors would be playing who had an NFL future. So, it's a big enough game that I think you're going to have most of them play, but I won't be surprised if somebody, quote-unquote, pulls a hamstring, just like Bradley Roby did in the Orange Bowl a few years ago. It's kind of a good business decision, that's for sure.
Great stuff from the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can catch Bax's column every Sunday. It is The Bucket. Thank you very much, Matt Baxendell. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning in to the show. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.